Hi, Mark here from JazzGuitarLessons.net for part 4 of our jazz chord progression series. So if you got that far, hopefully you watched your previous videos. If you did not, I urge you to go on the website and listen to the introduction onto what's the use of this video series in 5 parts and how you can benefit from it. So today we'll attack progressions 12, 13, and 14, if I'm not mistaken. So let's start with progression 12, which is called Modal Interchange in C major. Let's just look at the chords quickly before we move on with the blowing. C major 7, E minor 7. Here's the trick. E minor 7 right there is almost seen as an inversion of C, right? First inversion. C major 7, C major 6, whatever. So you can think of the two first chords as being the same chord in C major if you want to take that shortcut. Now next we're going to F minor 7, B flat 7. Back to C. This is commonly referred to as a backdoor progression because we're coming from B flat, which is a flat 7 chord, which is a whole tone below C, right? So backdoor progression, we'll see how we deal with that. Think of it as it's 2-5-1 in E flat major, and look what happens in 6th bar. It's E flat major. So E flat major makes C sound like a C minor, right? Because C minor is a relative major. So we're thinking F minor 7 to B flat 7 comes from C minor, and then in bar 5 we're going to C major, hence modal interchange, because we're going modal from C major to C minor. That's the mode interchange. Now let's talk about the last 4 bars. C major 7, no big deal. E flat, woo! A flat, whoa, jazzy. All major 7 chords. You could think of it as being E flat major, which I like, with yet another flat 7, which is D flat, which is a flat 7 in E flat major. But I'll just blow a little bit. Same principle as the other videos. I'm going to flick on the metronome at a tempo of 72. Yes, 72, that's right. 144, because we're using it as 2 and 4. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 12. That type of sound, and to be honest, this progression is kind of a shortened version of Ladybird, a great Tad Diamond tune. Why? Because it's the first 4 bars and the last 4 bars of Ladybird, in fact. There's something happening in the middle of Ladybird, where it goes to the key of A flat, then there's a little 2-5, there's this, there's that secondary dominant. But this is really where the juice is of this tune. The backdoor progression in bars 3 and 4, and the slightly UFO turnaround with the last 4 bars. You know, that thing sounds super modern. So let's talk about the backdoor progression now. F minor 7 to B flat 7 in this context, I would like to see that as F melodic minor. Why? Because if we don't go, in fact we don't have an E flat note, that's F melodic minor. If we were in F, as if we're in F Dorian, the 2 in the E flat major, it sounds softer, right? So if we avoid this E flat, we're stuck with B flat 7 sharp 11, that E note, while usually we'd have that one, right? The tricky thing is that I like to approach it as F melodic minor going to B flat 7 sharp 11, which is still F melodic minor scale. The thing that we're kind of losing trace of the modal interchange there, because as I said before blowing, we're doing an interchange between C major and C minor. But if you don't have that, it gives another texture. It's up to you, you know, find how it works. So scales to use: C major for the first 2 bars, either E flat major for the next 2 bars, which is C minor, right? Or F melodic minor, my little choice with the little sharp 11. And last 4 bars: C major, still C major, E flat major, A flat Lydian, yes. Why A flat Lydian? Because A flat Lydian is the 4th mode of E flat major. If you don't play A flat as Lydian, it will sound funny, I can tell you. Because it's just the way it is, right? If you hear one major chord and another major chord that's a 4th up, you want to hear it as Lydian. It's just the way chords move together. So last 4 bars once again: C major, then E flat major, A flat Lydian, then D flat Lydian also. Why D flat Lydian? Well, because it's not a good answer. D flat Lydian because it has a G natural, right? That's your sharp 11, and it's more natural to resolve with a G natural to a C, the next, which is the first chord of the progression, than to come with a G flat note in there. Like, it could work, but the rule is that when you have unrelated major chords together, like A flat happening, and as I told you, if you hear a major chord and the next major chord is up a 4th, A flat to D flat, you want to hear it as Lydian. It's just in your ears. So spend time with this. Let me know if you have questions about this progression, and let's move on. Okay, progression number 13. Now we're starting to go into town with that type of stuff, because every chord in bars, in the even bars, bars 2, 4, 6, well, not every bar. No, sorry. A lot of diminished chords, that's what I'm saying basically. C major to C diminished, 7, to D, another one to E, then just a regular F major, and F sharp. So we'll see the meaning of this. I want you to take a sneak peek at the next chord progression, 14. What we'll do to simplify this whole thing, thinking of diminished chords is great, but in the end, you want to have more than one way to think about it. Because the diminished scale is a symmetrical scale of 8 notes, right? And it's kind of hard to deal with sometimes. So think about the chord you see in progression 14, the dominant chord for each bar where you found the diminished previously. So for C sharp diminished, the little degree sign, if you go to the next progression, you see E minor 7 flat 5 to A7 flat 9. you'll think of A7 sometimes if you want to have a broader idea. Same thing for bar 4. Instead of thinking D sharp diminished, oh my god, what's that thing? You go and you think of B7 flat 9. Same thing for the F sharp diminished, you'll think of D7, etc. It could have been a flat 9 on the D7, by the way, but it didn't print, or I forgot it. So I'll just blow a little bit on the 13, and then I'll get into which scales you could use for that. Ready? Same thing, 72. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Diminished scales. Let's get to it. C major 7, no problem. D minor 7, no problem. E minor 7, no problem. F sharp, F major 7, it's all in C major. So what you're saying, you're going back and forth between the straight up C major and the diminished scale. You have to work on the diminished scale if you've never done it, and this is this can be a little bit of a challenge. If you take C sharp, right? C sharp, whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step. Or else, here's the thing. Practice the diminished scales. Of course, in your life, in your jazz guitar life, you have to get that down. But if you're really beginning with that stuff, aim for just the triad, diminished triad, or the diminished 7th arpeggio. For example, you're on C7, then C sharp diminished, D minor, E minor. E minor is easy, right? F sharp, F major, sorry. F sharp, same thing. Why I'm recommending to play arpeggios on the diminished chords is because it's all minor thirds, so you could do the Django thing. You know what I mean? You do only minor thirds intervals and you try to squeeze that between, and it will kind of work in a sense that is broad. And then when you realize that you take this diminished arpeggio, let's take the C sharp for now. Sorry guys. Take this, and then you approach every note. Every note in the diminished arpeggio, 7th arpeggio, and the arpeggio is only minor third. You have your C sharp, minor third up, minor third up, and you're back at C sharp. Take every note, approach it from one semitone below. That's a scale. So this type of thinking is kind of tricky. You'll be like, oh my god, what's that thing? I'm barely familiar with my major scales or my blues stuff. But it's worthwhile because you can really shred on those scales. You can play a lot of notes and you can kind of resolve anywhere because it's diminished. It's super out in a certain way. So it's why this progression 13 is nice, because it's half and half. It's half really C major and the other half is diminished. So let's move on now. Okay, so progression 14 now. Same thing. Diminished reharmonization. What I told you at first, you'll be thinking of A7, you'll be thinking of B7. In fact, when I'm blowing, that's what I'm thinking of. Don't tell anyone. But I'm relating the diminished scales a lot to dominant 7 flat 9 chords, because it's the same thing. It's just the function and the root is different, but the scale physically on the neck lays in the same way. So it's a bunch, the progression 14 is a bunch of secondary minor 2/5s. You have 2-5-1 going to D minor. It's E minor 7 flat 5, A7 to D minor. Same thing going to E minor, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7 flat 9, E minor. If you did your homework well and you started to play with progression 9, progression 9, super important. You dealt with that type of stuff already. The only thing you didn't deal with yet is the E minor 7 flat 5 to A7 flat 9 to D minor. But you could take progression 9 back and do that with an E minor 7 flat 5, the half diminished chord. It's the same deal. I'd like to talk about the scales to use on progression 14 before. In fact, will be super straightforward. The chords are the same as progression 13, sorry, except the diminished chords have been reharmonized into minor 2/5s. You could use the same scale, use the same old diminished scale on this, or you could use a shortcut, and that's what I'll try to do when I blow. I'll do harmonic minor of destination. So in bar 2 of progression 14, E minor 7 flat 5, A7 flat 9, I'll do D harmonic minor. It's called harmonic minor of destination. If you didn't do so already, look in the articles section of jazzguitarlessons.net. You find it's called dominant chords, and I explained that thing of harmonic minor of destination. So I'll do harmonic minor of destination to D minor, H and D, harmonic minor of destination to E minor, harmonic minor of destination to G7, and then we'll be back to C. All right, so let's get blowing a little bit. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. As you might have heard on the different harmonic minors of destination, you know. Then the last one, we So that's the type of stuff that I also got from Connecting Chords with Linear Harmony. It's a great book, by the way. So that'll be it for today. We covered progression 12, 13, and 14. A lot of work to do, and if you didn't do so, please check the introduction. You'll get a lot of ideas on how to work this for your own playing, and always remember, if you have anything that you want to ask as a question or a special request, please contact me. I'll be on jazzguitarlessons.net. Improve your jazz guitar playing with a real teacher. See you next time.